Good evening and welcome to the August 15, 2017 business meeting of the Council of the Borough of Ringwood. This meeting is being broadcast live and will be replayed on Channel 77 throughout the week. Kelly, statement of compliance, please.
Adequate notice of this business meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Law, PL 1975, Chapter 231, setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this business meeting by consent agenda resolution 2017-12, adopted January 5, 2017, through a legal notice published in the Suburban Trends issue of January 15, 2017, and through notices, fax, and email to the following named newspapers and posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on January 10, 2017, the Suburban Trends, the Bergen Record, and WGHT. At this time, please silence all electronic devices during the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Here.
Councilmembers Davison.
Here.
Landis. Here. Marsala.
Here.
Noonan.
Here.
Schaefer.
Here.
Also present is the Borough Manager, Director of Department of Public Works, Scott Heck, Deputy Borough Manager, Borough Clerk Kelly Halowitz, Borough Attorney Richard J. Klimek, and our Planning Board Attorney, Mr. Thomas Dunn. Please join me and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Our first order of business tonight is a special presentation by Mr. Dunn regarding redevelopment. This process started a couple years ago with a grant from the Highlands, the New Jersey Highlands Council for economic sustainability. We needed something more than what they were envisioning in their grant, and we requested a different kind of procedure. I'd seen one town that was a full preservation area town. Their economic development plan, maybe they had a better base of commercial uses in town. It was focused on wayfinding and a couple other things that just didn't seem really to be the need for the borough of Ringwood. So we started proceeding down that path and looking at the particular challenges that Ringwood has, the 100% in the preservation area, a lot of forested areas, no sewers, and started looking at those particular issues. And then the Council on Affordable Housing and all its associated lawsuits and stuff kind of came into play. And the question became, well, can we accommodate some of what they're going to give to us as our required COA obligation? Could some of that be met within this redevelopment? So Tom will explain to us how that came along, where we are in the process right now. And there'll be a general public comment portion almost immediately proceeding, so anybody can make any comments you'd like at that point. Mr. Dunn?
Thank you, John. I am, in fact, Tom Dunn. I am, in fact, the attorney for the Planning Board, and I've also been serving as special counsel to the governing body for redevelopment and affordable housing. Scott Heck and Dick Klimek and I have been working for some months to see if we can address some of the challenges that Ringwood faces. We've been assisted by Chuck McGrorty, our planner, Jens Rydell, an environmental consultant, Dave Halls, the planning board engineer, and John Montoro, a consulting architect. I'm here tonight to make a public presentation to you of the thinking. We are involved in a lawsuit, and what I'm saying is tonight is without prejudice and in an attempt to facilitate a settlement if we can. As we see it, these are the challenges that Ringwood faces: Highlands regulations, sustainable economic development, environmental responsibility, and affordable housing. I'm going to talk briefly about them and then present a conceptual proposal for consideration. The Highlands regulations, as you know, are very restrictive. Aside from the addiction center and a few small expansions of existing facilities, the Planning Board has had virtually no business since 2004.
Tom, you may want to move that mic closer so it's kind of behind the computer. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, see, okay. There are only two exemptions that can benefit Ringwood if it wants to create any economic development. Exemption 4, which allows the owner of an existing impervious coverage to add 25% or 1/4 of an acre, whichever is less. And for that exemption, the property owner has to have adequate sewer capacity. And then Highlands redevelopment, which allows the Highlands Council on a case-by-case basis to approve redevelopment of a property that already has 70% or more of impervious coverage. There are really only two areas of Ringwood that can qualify for designation by the Highlands Council as a Highlands redevelopment area and have the remotest possibility of being sewered. The first is are the two shopping centers, Fieldstone and Ringwood Plaza, and I think you're all familiar with them and perhaps recognize the view. The Fieldstone Plaza is to the right, and the Ringwood Plaza property is on the left. The Fieldstone Plaza contains the Stop and Shop, and the Ringwood Plaza contains the CVS and satellite stores. The second area is a cluster of properties near the intersection of Greenwood Lake Turnpike and Skyline Lakes Drive, beginning with the diner, the small shopping center, the Redner property, the restaurant, school, and the Haskell paving lot. All have substantial impervious coverage and might be able to qualify for a redevelopment area designation. I think we've recognized since we were working on the Highlands Master Plan that sustainable economic development is important to Ringwood for a lot of reasons. And Scott can elucidate on some of those. I'm sure he has in the past. But without new ratables, the rising cost of quality local government and schools falls on the same old tax base. That means taxes have to rise or services have to be drastically cut. Without new taxes, there is little room to provide money to improve schools or respond to emergencies or make meaningful improvements to the town or its infrastructure. The rising taxes make commercial properties less sustainable. If rents are increased to keep pace with taxes, tenants leave and it's hard to replace them. Tax appeals follow. If they are successful, they further reduce the tax base and the burden on the rest of the property owners. If people can't afford to pay their taxes, more properties go into foreclosure. In that case, the taxes can't be counted on for the budget, so the taxes on everybody else have to increase. If the taxes on houses and single-family homes are higher than those in neighboring towns, the market value of those homes decreases. At a meeting with the Highlands Council Executive Director at one point, I called this a death spiral. It may be too harsh, but I think it can recognize some of the symptoms that you have. And Scott, maybe you can tell us some of those.
Well, Tom, I've talked about this a lot over the last bunch of years. We can cut the budget forever, and we can keep cutting the budget, but the problem is service get caught, and you get to a point where there's no return. And you are correct. Earlier, you mentioned that we've had no meaningful increase in ratables, with the exception of the addiction center, which was the old convent, since 2004, and that's certainly true. I guess ultimately, what does it mean for the taxpayer? And unfortunately, much like everybody else's budget, the fact of life is as costs go up, and costs do go up, healthcare increases and whatnot, and you have a declining revenue, you have to find creative ways to find services. You have to do something. We've been doing that for a bunch of years to try and help keep the taxes stable. When you couple that with state regulations that are somewhat onerous and state mandate state pay, it makes it more difficult, and it certainly makes the task more challenging. In addition, unfortunately, and I've talked about this several times this year, Ringwood's major taxpayer, North Jersey District Water Supply Commission, has filed a tax appeal, and that's going to have its impact on our community, whether we want it or not. And it's somewhat ironic because they filed a tax appeal based on the fact that the Highlands legislation reduced the value of their property, which ironically is the reason the Highlands legislation was put in place, was to protect the water for the reservoir and its users. So lowering a value is a function of exactly what they wanted to have happen, and that happened. So it's kind of a product of what they wanted. So I find that ironic that we have a tax appeal. We provide the protection for the water for all these other communities. You know, you look at the places that that are using all the water, they're growing in leaps and bounds. You know, they're building, which requires more and more water. And while this is all a fact of life, there's not much we can do about that. So it's unfortunate for our taxpayer, but that's not in our control, so we can't do anything. What we can do is to try and revitalize our Skyline Drive corridor, not only to enhance our community, but to offset some of these losses that are likely to come if the reservoir's values are declined. We don't get to tax their dam. We don't get to tax their improvements the way we would on an ordinary piece of property. So those are some of the rules that are kind of stacked against us. Keep in mind that that improvements will benefit the municipal tax rate, but it also benefit the school tax rate. And let's be honest, both of them need more revenue. While this is only part of what we can do, we can continue with good management, we can continue with reducing costs, but the plan tonight is a positive, could possibly have a positive influence on the community from a financial perspective, as well as help to revitalize and solve some of the vacancies in our business communities and the residents. It would be nice to be able to shop in our own town. It would be nice not to have all those vacancies. So we've talked about, Tom, we've talked about the financial issues, and and as we look at things from 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years out, we need to do something to start to reverse this so that we don't end up putting all that tax burden on the existing taxpayers.
Okay, so now let's turn to environmental responsibility. In order to promote activities that make Ringwood economically sustainable, those activities must have adequate wastewater collection and treatment systems. We can't rely on septic tanks for these kinds of activities. In the Skyline Drive area, there are 5 existing treatment facilities for existing developed properties. Number 1 is the housing development served by the James Drive plant. This is the only municipal treatment plant. All others are private. Number 2 is a treatment plant serving the Ringwood Plaza CVS Shopping Center. And this is located on a parcel of 24 acres owned by the owner of the shopping center and services the shopping center, the TD Bank, the gas station, the ambulance corps, and 8 adjacent homes. Number 3 is a septic system with aeration facilities serving the Fieldstone Center. It is grandfathered under DEP regulations. I've had the opportunity to smell it once, but I understand that whether it's working or not, the smelling shopping center septic system when shopping is offensive to a lot of people. Number 4 is a grandfathered septic system serving the St. Catherine Bologna Church. And number 5 is a treatment plant servicing only the Board of Education's Robert Erskine School. And for orientation, number 4 is near the intersection of Skyline Drive and Greenwood Lake Turnpike. Ideally, we thought the solution to all of these existing and potential problems with these various treatment and discharge facilities might be to combine them and to construct a low-pressure sewer force main with grinder pumps and connect it to the Wanacue Valley Regional Treatment Plant, of which Ringwood is a third owner. Unlike a gravity system, which requires deep trenches, this push system can follow the surface of the surface elevation at a specified depth, and the advantages of this system include lower construction costs, easier installation, and a significant reduction in the potential for extraneous stormwater or groundwater entering the system. The route's approximately 3.8 miles long, ties into the Wanacue system at the intersection of Greenwood Lake Turnpike and Skyline Lake Drive. The cost estimate is $3,395,000. A major part of these costs will be borne by the new commercial and residential users. If the shopping centers are redeveloped, the anticipated flow through the system would be about 118,000 gallons per day for the Skyline Drive area alone. Much of the route will not disrupt existing residences or businesses. The vast majority of the vacant land along the route is dedicated open space or owned by the Water Commission. A further study might show that it would be economical to include sewage for the potential redevelopment area on Greenwood Lake Turnpike without substantial additional cost. It could be expected that the capital cost of this construction would be spread over all the users over a long time period, and Ringwood would no longer have the financial responsibility for any treatment, which it currently does with respect to James Drive and with respect to the Erskine School. However, at a recent meeting with the Highlands Council and the DEP, we were told that this would be a heavy lift for the Highlands Council and the DEP, and that Ringwood would have to prove that all other alternatives have been explored and that there are valid health and safety reasons for choosing this alternative. In addition, the DEP and Highlands frown on taking effluent from one subwatershed area to another, which they say this would do. If there's conceptual approval by Ringwood and the Highlands Council of the designation of a Highlands redevelopment area, we'll need to have more sewer and water engineering done to continue to explore the alternatives and the capacity of the existing brooks to take more flow. Our existing James Drive plant was built in 1989 to replace one that had been built in the early 60s and currently requires updating. The wastewater consultants looked at two improvement alternatives for improving this facility. Neither of them is comprehensive, and both of them will keep Ringwood on the financial hook for treatment. This is a James Drive plant. Its DEP permit allows 36,000 gallons per day, and it's estimated that it may be close to capacity. It's estimated that the cost of repair to bring its old infrastructure up to standards under which it was built would cost $908,000 without addressing the infiltration that currently exists into the collection system that is undoubtedly causing them to be at capacity. To replace the plant with a modern state-of-the-art plant is estimated to cost $2,200,000, and the infiltration would still need to be addressed. Another alternative for proper wastewater for redevelopment would be to construct a new larger plant on the Ringwood Plaza 24 acres and then to abandon the old plant. Our consultant's report suggests that a new state-of-the-art treatment plant could be built adjacent to the existing Ringwood Plaza plant, could have a capacity of 60,000 gallons per day to take in the existing uses in Fieldstone Shopping Center and a redevelopment project that includes 150 units of housing. We have a cost estimate of the system at $2.4 million. This does not include the cost of demolition of the existing plant. It also does not include the cost of reconfiguring the collection systems on either the shopping centers or the cost of crossing Skyline Drive. This plant at 60,000 gallons would not have the capacity to take the effluent from the James Drive plant, so that plant would still need to be upgraded. All of these alternatives would have to be explored in more detail before preparing any detailed plans to the DEP.
Tom, before
Yeah.
you continue, the James Drive plant, where does the effluent go? Once it's treated in the plant, it goes into a stream and...
Goes at the High Mountain Brook,
Okay, all right, thank you.
and the other one goes into another brook whose name escapes me right at this point.
Thank you.
Now we'll talk a little bit about affordable housing. COA was originally designed to protect municipalities against the chaos that resulted from Mount Laurel litigation in 1983 that provided a constitutional obligation for housing. Those cases were supervised by the courts in those days to provide a fair share of affordable housing. When COA disintegrated in 2014, the Supreme Court put the decision back from COA into the courts. Virtually all of the municipalities in the state are now in the courts, driven by a process in which the Builders Association, Fair Share Housing Council are producing astounding numbers of affordable units that municipalities are required to build, and the municipalities, through expert are advocating for much smaller numbers. Most of the cases are being settled, and most of the litigated cases have gone against the municipality. Ringwood could fight tooth and nail against the responsibility for any affordable housing. Because it is in the preservation area under the Highlands, it's different from all but 5 other municipalities in the state. However, arguing that it has no responsibility for affordable housing would undercut efforts to get sustainable economic development or environmental responsibility. So we've been operating on that premise. We've outlined a series of items, ways to meet the challenge. The zone for redevelopment of the shopping centers into a mixed-use town center, to implement a sewer solution and to include affordable housing. This proposal of meeting the challenges is not without challenges itself. It needs Highlands Council approval for one or more redevelopment areas. More importantly, it needs DEP approval for wastewater portion, and this will probably be the most challenging of the challenges. And ideally, there would be a court approval of a settlement of the affordable housing case, although it's possible that we could proceed with shopping center development without that. To get a settlement, we'll have to deal not only with the Fair Share Housing Council and the Builders Association, but also Mr. Pagano, Mr. Forbes, who have intervened to seek to build housing on their tracks. The concept for redevelopment. In doing planning and zoning, incentivizes redevelopment. The municipality can't necessarily design a project for a developer, but needs to provide a concept that's somewhat flexible. It also can't dismiss the concept based upon the impressions of the current owner's operation of the facility or the likelihood that the current owner will proceed. If the current owner is not interested in pursuing a project, someone may come along who is. The basic concept that we're suggesting is a mixed-use redevelopment with a minimum retail component and a maximum retail component. A minimum multifamily housing at 6 units per the acre of impervious coverage, and a maximum of 8 units per acre of impervious coverage. Height limitations of 45 feet measured to the midpoint of a sloping roof building, 36 feet height in flat roof buildings, parking ratio of 1 to 250 square feet of retail, and approximately 2 per unit with shared parking as might be permitted by the residential site improvement standards. Under the Highlands regulations, if a property had 70% coverage on the date of adoption of the Highlands Act, it can increase its coverage by up to 30% with the approval of the Highlands Council. If this rule is applied to the Fieldstone Center, it could pick up about 1.3 acres of impervious coverage. In addition, the current parking ratio is out of line with industry standards. Current standards are 4 per 1,000, or 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of retail. This center has 1 to 175 square feet of retail. By reducing the number of parking spaces, the owner can pick up some impervious coverage that it can devote to housing. John Montour, our consulting architect, presented a scheme for development of the Fieldstone Shopping Center. I have to caution you, this is schematic, it's not fully engineered, and it might not be something that would necessarily be done. The owner is the one who takes the risk and who determines what is marketable and doable. But what this does is, this particular scheme does, it preserves the supermarket, the bank, which is that letter E, and a small segment of existing retail in tan. It shows in blue some apartments with retail under in blue, and some potential new retail in pink. It's schematic, it's not fully engineered, there's a lot of things that might make this change. But John's conception of what it might look like is this. This is from looking at it from the southwest corner of the property with mixed-use apartments and retail in the foreground and the existing retail in the far background. Again, it's very schematic and just some ideas of what might be possible to build. This is at the place where the housing would meet the existing retail space. The building height will be controlled to give the owner incentive to build sloped roof buildings rather than flat roofs. And here's a potential elevation showing how the building height is calculated. A retail floor of 13 foot 6, 2 floors of 11 each, and a third floor with 8 foot minimum ceiling heights. To bring the look of the height down, your ordinance can prescribe that the gutter line of the roof be below the windows on the upper floors. This concept is being used in a number of communities throughout, I know, Bergen County and throughout other parts of the state. At 6 units to the acre, this site can generate up to 72 units of housing, 14 of which will be affordable. At 8 units to the acre, there might be 96 units of housing, 18 of which would be affordable. Ringwood Plaza contains just over 5 acres, and 99% of it is covered. That owner is waiting back to hear from us, but they did have a consultant who said to us preliminarily that it thought it could get 40 units of housing in a redevelopment. That owner also owns the adjacent 24 acres that contains its treatment plant and the TD Bank, which you can see in the lower bottom corner, and a lot of environmental constraints. Under the Highlands regulations, there's potential for it to increase its impervious coverage by extending it further into its 24-acre parcel, although again, there are heavy environmental constraints on that parcel. Most of that parcel would have to remain as open space. We've not made any sketches, had any sketches made of that, but I think it's possible to build a mixed-use facility at the same densities as the other shopping centers, which would result in 36 to 40 units of housing, of which 6 to 8 would be affordable. It's possible under the Highlands regulations that a redevelopment designation can include parts of additional properties. Adjacent to the Fieldstone property, there's a property owned by Mr. Pagano that is vacant and undisturbed. It contains 16 acres with substantial steep slopes, wetlands, and rock outcrops. There might be a small portion of this property, 2 to 3 acres, that the Highlands Council would approve if it were integrated with the shopping center. We've told Mr. Pagano about what we're proposing tonight, and he's here to see it. If he can come up with a realistic proposal for inclusion of a portion of this property in a Highlands redevelopment area, and it will allow us to settle the case, pending fair housing case, we think Ringwood should be open to including it to see what the Highlands Council staff has to say. If the Highlands Council rejects that addition, nevertheless, Ringwood should have the ability to proceed with a redevelopment area designation of the shopping center alone. At the same densities, there might be 18 to 24 more units of housing, 3 to 5 of which would be affordable. Mr. Forbes is also an intervener in the housing case. His property contains 11.3 acres. A portion of this property has been disturbed, but it also has wetlands and steep slopes. The inclusion of a portion of Forbes' property, 3 acres or less, in a redevelopment area is also a possibility, but as I said, the owner of the shopping center may also think that it would want to include housing on its property. We've discussed with Mr. Forbes as to what the problems would be to doing that, but we think Ringwood should be receptive to hearing what his professionals would propose that would meet the Highlands regulations and deal with the other problems that might exist and take it to the Highlands Council for review. So here's what we see as the next steps for you to keep things moving. I think we need the professionals need to be authorized to prepare materials for a pre-application conference at the Highlands Council that would include the shopping centers and, if feasible, portions of the Pagano and Forbes property, and to ask the Highlands Council for a pre-application conference. We need to continue with wastewater studies to put us in a position to meet with the DEP and talk about alternatives to see what we think can make work. And if those steps appear to be favorable, we would prepare a master plan amendment, revise zoning, and then have public input and debate on that in that process. So that's my presentation, and I'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Yeah, Mr. Porter, we're gonna have a public session. Should we,
Well, I don't know whether whether the council has any.
does anybody from any of the council members have any questions for Mr. Dunn? Mr. Dunn, would you entertain questions from the audience?
Sure, we'll do it in your public session.
Yes, so Mr. Forbes, if you can hold on for just 1 minute, we're going to have just a quick, one more piece of business, and then we're going to go into a general public portion. You can ask questions of Mr. Dunn if you so like. Thank you very much, Mr. Dunn. If there's no questions from the council, I'd like to move to the next item on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Jim.
All right, in going through all this, the driver behind this is affordable housing.
Well,
Correct?
it's affordable housing and economic development.
Economic
Right.
sustainability.
But what's the worst-case scenario with the lawsuit with affordable housing?
Well, it's hard to tell because the Fair Share Housing Council says we have an obligation for 270 units of housing, which obviously there's no way that Ringwood could make that work. If we can't reach agreement with the property owners, I would suspect that we're going to submit a housing plan to the court and ask the court to approve it based upon what we can build. That's why Highlands is different than other places, because we can only build what we can build. So we don't want to litigate it, but if we have to, we will.
How realistic are these plans?
Pardon me?
How realistic are these plans?
I mean, it's hard to know. I think they are realistic. And affordable housing, I think the regulations provide that, for inclusionary developments, that the minimum is 6 units to the acre. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the market at any particular given point in time. It depends on what the property owner wants to do. But we don't have many alternatives to produce any kind of economic development except in these areas.
I think what I'm trying to say is there's a lot to say about it. It's our present zoning is not attracting any kind of capital investment in these places. We have pending costs coming up on that James Drive sewer plant, and we know that the other sewer plant is going to go bad. That's on the private property owner, but that's still a concern and another sink of capital that goes into something and doesn't gain us anything new. It wasn't really about COA. It was always about economic sustainability, because we simply can't have all these empty storefronts. It's just unacceptable. COA did come into play, later on in the game, and that kind of had to take it out of, and put it under Mr. Dunn and the special counsel, and now it's kind of privileged material. This isn't. Ms. Dunn, we'd be able to post this on our website, right? This
Yeah.
presentation, yeah. So if it was just COA, I'd go to court. Would make our best offer, and we go to court because we can't build. The Highlands said The Highlands said 10 years ago, we can build 3 houses, was their build-out analysis. They came back and said that we had no houses, that they couldn't build another house. I think, is that correct, Mr. Dunn, or was it?
Yeah,
one, or-
that's
it's-
based upon
you-
the septic densities. And, you know,
Yes.
they also have an exception for affordable housing, but you can't.
Yes, 100% affordable development
housing,
gets-
Which is pretty unrealistic in terms of what you can build and still not have to build a sewer plant. Once you have to start to build a sewer plant for affordable housing, you have 100% affordable housing, you have issues.
Yes,
So-
yes. Hard to
in
find.
keeping them affordable, and to find a nonprofit developer.
That would be able to take on that kind of development. You could find a nonprofit that can build this stuff. If you donate the land, you could find a nonprofit to build it, but not to build a sewer plant as well. So this is where we lie, and now it's really a matter of trying to see if the DEP and the Highlands Council can accept the vision here, and then come back and see if the town and the people can accept the vision here. It's, a chicken and the egg kind of thing. It's not, like Tom said, it's going to be a heavy lift to get this sewer area done. But without that, doesn't seem like much else can get done. So we have to go and push down that road and see where it is. And the only way you do it is actually by undertaking this study that we did that brought to light, what our future liabilities are going to be here and what a potential solution is. It's, so we have to keep on pushing down the road and seeing if this sewer plan can actually get through, or get close. See what would be acceptable to the approving authorities, and then see what the community is willing to accept, and then try to come up with what our best bet is to try to spur some kind of economic investment in these properties here, or else we're going to look at these things the same way we've looked at them for the past 15 years, and I find it unacceptable. Any other comments from the council?
How will this help the seniors?
The market units could be available for seniors, who could afford the rents. We can't, under the COA regulations, devote any substantial portion of the affordables to seniors, but seniors still, low-income seniors still might qualify for those affordable units. This is not a subsidized senior project.
Mayor, I would be remiss if I didn't say we do need to do some economic development. We do need to do something with our commercial district. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we got them this year to paint it and clean it up and at least do the most basic of stuff, but it does need some attention. But, Mr. Dunn, there's also a downside. Like every town in the state of New Jersey is in this lawsuit, and there's settlements that are crazy, and the Builders Association, whoever brought this lawsuit, wants a crazy amount of properties, low and moderate for Ringwood. And what is that number? Like 1,200 or something?
Their top-line number is 270 units of affordable housing.
Which would translate into how many regular
Well, if
housing?
you're doing it as, inclusionary zoning, 4 to 1, so you're talking about, actually, five times 300, 1,500.
Yeah, which is something that we certainly can't accommodate here. There's just no way that could happen. And some of the settlements are not all that favorable in terms of the municipalities. And we hear this time and time again, Kelly. I can't tell you how many things we get from the league saying, talking about what's going on here. So we have to also couch that. We need we could use some redevelopment of our shopping centers. Our package plant needs some attention. We've talked about that a little bit. The school is a package plant that is going to need some attention. And let's be honest, the school budget and the municipal budget also could use a little bit of influx of some new ratables, and we can't keep cutting, and the school's experiencing that right now. So I just was remiss if I didn't at least mention that.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say I'm really excited that we're exploring options to create economic stability our beautiful community deserves a thriving town center, and that is something that I think really needs to happen. So this is exciting to be in the exploration phase. My question would be, when does the feasibility study come in as far as the additional strain that we would be putting on our school infrastructures and our current emergency safety services? Our fire department, do we now need an additional big rig because we can't handle, God forbid, there was a fire in a unit like this? When does that study actually take place, or has that already?
No, it hasn't already. It needs to be done.
Okay.
In terms of your master plan,
Okay,
and
so that would be forthcoming
Yeah.
after,
it would.
okay. Thank you.
If there's no other comments from the council, I'd like to move on to next item on our agenda, the approval of minutes. Kelly, if you would.
I just need a motion to approve the July 18th business meeting and executive session. All were present.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear.
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison.
Yes.
Landis.
Yes.
Marsala.
Yep.
Noonan.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the general public portion. Any member of the public wishing to address the mayor and council, please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Chuck Forbes, 42 Ricker Drive, Ringwood. For Mr. Dunn, I noticed that the NC40 zone in your proposal seems to have been split, north of Skyline Drive and south of Skyline Drive. Would that not be spot zoning?
No, not necessarily. If it's a redevelopment,
Skyline Lakes Drive, they want.
yeah, and our impression might be that some of those people could hook up to the Wanacue system
Right.
as it is now.
They've already said that they'll permit it if Ringwood will.
This system, this area might need some help from the DEP in order to do that, and the Highlands redevelopment in order to do that. So I don't think we would envision redevelopment of the properties further down Greenwood Lake.
Why not? You have residential properties there in a commercial zone.
The redevelopment meaning properties that are 70% coverage.
Well, I've just been given notice by two tenants that as of October the 1st, I'm going to be 5 vacancies in my buildings. So I might be interested in putting apartments above my commercial space in that zone.
In that zone?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
So if you're not including it in your area to work on, I'm screwed right off the bat.
Well, let us have the details about what you have.
NC zone should, NC40 should be NC40 all the way.
Let us have your proposals.
That was my proposal. Keep the zoning as it is, make it all inclusive.
Hi. Mr. Ford, I have a couple of,
Name and address for the record.
Robin Kennedy, 310 Lakeview. It was hard to hear you, and I didn't connect the dots on a couple of things. When you were showing those pictures of the sewer, the septic systems, the treatment facilities, and you were giving those multi-million-dollar price tags, are those the obligation of the borough, or are those the obligation of those areas that they serve? The residents on James Drive, St. Catherine's, the Board of Ed? I missed the point of that price tag.
The $2.4 million one, that was the private one, that's Azarian's.
There was
That's the
2.4, and then there was
$2.4 million one.
2.2.
There's the 2.2 or $902,000 for rehab. That's the James Drive plant.
But is that our obligation? Is that a borough obligation?
It's a municipal plant.
It is a municipal plant. The costs are generally borne by the people that are served by it, but Mr. Hack, would that be a general obligation, or would
You
that
can
be?
do it either, you can do it.
Yeah, we can do it
I
either
mean,
way.
the majority of us are septic owners, and if our septic fails, we're on the
Yeah.
hook for it. So I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
why the residents that live in one part of town, if they have a $2 million repair, why are we also paying for that if we don't benefit from that?
Many years ago, when there was a sewage authority, it was abandoned, and the municipality took over the responsibility of that. And back then, and I would have to go back and look at those studies, they said that the people in the James Drive area with this treatment plant should be put in the same position as people with a septic, and that's why they pay a user fee of like $1,000 a year, so that over the course of 20 years, they will have paid the equivalent amount of what a septic system was. And there's some
How many
figures of how
many
they,
residents are serviced by that
I
facility?
think it's approximately 109, but I'd have to look.
127.
127, okay.
And typically sewers are, typically sewer systems are spread across the users. Create connection fees, you bond for it and pay off the bonds using connection fees and user fees. That's typically the way sewer systems are done.
Okay, but if they have a $2 million price tag and there's only 129 of them and I can't do the 127 of them, then I'm never gonna do the math on that. Some of that's getting picked up by taxpayers that don't.
We haven't.
We'd have to work all that out.
haven't
We
worked
really
it out.
don't.
I mean, one of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those decisions,
That's-
when the sewage
yeah.
authority, when it was built, when that original plant was built in 1968, and there was a sewage authority, and the sewage authority was abandoned, the Borough of Ringwood operates that plant currently now.
One of the, one of the advantages to a sewer project is to get as many users as you can into it, which
Right,
is why,
advertise the price.
we thought about doing a line down Greenwood Lake Turnpike, but it's meeting environmental restrictions, because you get more users into it.
So if you have your proposed up to 70 units from Ringwood Crossing, your proposal is that you connect those different treatment facilities, and then the new proposed development hooks into that,
Right.
those treatment facilities, and now you have that many more units
Right.
getting, okay. And you said up to 70 units, and I missed the numbers.
Well,
What
no.
percentage were affordable?
No, I said 72 at a minimum and 96 at a maximum.
So between 72 and 96, and what?
20%.
And 20% is affordable. And if you have to set up affordable housing, do you then have to establish some kind of a commission where you have guidelines so that we know who applies for them and who qualifies?
There's COA regulations, and yes.
But then why, did I misunderstand, why would seniors not be qualified if they're, regardless of their age, if their finances make them?
They would be.
They are.
Oh, they
They
would
would
be.
be.
Okay,
What
so
I said
the
was-
age is as
Yeah, what I said
important.
was
Okay.
this, the COA regulations do not permit you to just build 100% affordable
seniors.
seniors.
Can't
Okay.
carve out the senior.
So it doesn't matter the age, people
Right.
that are qualified by
Anybody who
income will get in
qualifies
whatever they're.
By
whatever-
income and by
Just the
assets.
Okay, and then I have a question, two questions for what you said. Scott, you said something about if you revitalize Skyline Corridor, it's gonna benefit the municipal tax rate and the school tax rate. Why would it benefit the school tax rate to revitalize?
Well, you know that our taxes are, because we probably receive 22%. The school probably, I think, is at 56% of the tax bill. So it's helping the municipal tax budget, and it's helping the school budget as well. Because all of the taxes that the folks pay does not go to the Borough of Ringwood. We keep a portion of it goes to the school, a portion of it goes to the county, and a portion of it goes to open space.
But then you're probably gonna be impacting the school population as well, which
Possibly.
you're
could
gonna
be. There's-
have- You have more school taxes being paid, you'll have more of a burden on the schools because there'll be,
I think
I think when we
you'll
get
find
to-
a study
when we-
that'll show
when we
that.
get to
Not
the time for
necessarily,
the
right,
master
yeah.
plan, in general, these types of units do not produce a lot of children.
you know, all due respect, Mr. Dunn, I was a chairman of the zoning board for 23 years in Lincoln Park, and every developer that came to Lincoln Park with condos and apartments said that, and it never turned out to be true because young couples came in with babies. And I know that's what the developers say, but it just never works out that way. And health insurance, I've just been meaning to ask, does the council get paid health insurance or not?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Jim Guinan, 62 Walker Drive, Ringwood. What is the current affordable housing obligation of Ringwood?
We have an obligation from past years of about 38 units
That's not satisfied?
that hasn't been satisfied.
Is that current, or is that,
Well,
are they
I
still
mean,
evaluating?
Depending on what the court decides, we could have a lot more.
Yeah.
But, and I'm trying to remember the numbers, but we have, the reports say that we have a 51 unit past obligation. But we satisfied a lot of that in various ways over the years. So I think the numbers are reduced substantially. It may be, I just don't remember the numbers, but it may
Right.
be in the 38 or maybe 13. I just can't remember.
Mr. Guinan, the numbers were always attainable. It was always in that,
It was.
3 dozen to 75 type of range, where we can put together a plan that has some semblance of credibility, and you'd have this many possibly accessory apartments and
Upgrading existing homes.
Other, yeah, so this,
Well, and we have-
there are other, there are other mechanisms to satisfy your COA requirements, and we were always able to put together plans that credibly were able to address them.
Yeah,
But the numbers have changed significantly, and the whole contours of what affordable housing obligations are has changed significantly, and it's daunting to try to fight it.
we satisfied a number of them with group homes, Spectrum for Living, and
Yes.
others of that sort. We've had a rehabilitation program, which we would probably have to continue to do. But the whole landscape was changed by this Supreme Court decision. It took COA out of the picture and put the courts into it.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name's Robert Kasuba. I'm an attorney. I represent Ron Pagano's companies. Was referenced earlier tonight. Thank you very much for this presentation. We are an intervener in the litigation, as was referenced before, and we do look forward to trying to work with the town on an amicable resolution of this. The one thing that I did want to highlight in our reaction to the presentation was really higher densities. This is a proposal that the town seems to be looking to shift substantial cost of the sewage infrastructure or wastewater disposal onto the development community. And the density of 6 or 8 units per the acre is very low in today's era, especially when you're dealing with these types of substantial costs. Especially for this type of multifamily, which will probably be apartment flats. Typically, the minimum density of municipalities in their affordable housing plans and in COA's earlier regulations is, well, depending which set of regulations you looked at, it's at least 12 units per acre, and north of there is frequently what's been including in municipalities in their plans that have been settled and that have resolved. That's where the market is. That's the product type. From my observation of what is going on here and what the town may be interested in, it is the wastewater disposal issue, which is a substantial cost, and looking to shift some of that onto the development community. But you're going to need density to make that happen. You're going to need density to make the redevelopment of the shopping centers to happen and to make it really viable. And I believe there a vibrant community or a vibrant downtown was referenced, which requires density. The only other, there's other issues that I'm sure I'll be in contact with the attorneys going forward. I don't need to belabor tonight's presentation with those issues, but we would be concerned with timelines, things of that nature, of communication with the Highlands Council, and working together and being involved, or at least having some level of involvement into the wastewater disposal plans going forward. Because if we are going to resolve these issues, it's going to require a level of communication and also some level of, I'll say, an ability to work together in order to get the court to hopefully to sign off on a plan that meets the town's goals, but also meets the property owners and the development community goals as well, in addition to providing affordable housing to help this community satisfy its constitutional obligation. I know that there's always the possibility of not settling and proceeding with litigation, I always view that as not the best outcome, and we do look forward to working with you. I don't know, Mr. Pagano, do you want to say anything else on? Why don't I turn over the mic to Mr. Pagano then? Thank you.
Hello. Is it possible, I mean, this is such a big burden to everybody with the Highlands Council and the way they just kind of mapped all of Ringwood into one preservation area like they did with other towns. Is it possible to go to them and say, because it was my understanding from a few reliable people, very professional people in town, that at one time back in 2004, that they went, the Highlands went to the mayor back then, it was a woman, Miss Wendy, what was the last name?
Venkatol.
Okay. That they went to her and said, you know, do you want to do anything with making some of your business district an exempt to this Highlands? And it's my understanding she said no. Is that your understanding? And I'm just looking and say, well, if that was an avenue at one time, is this something that it's worth proceeding because it's a little easier for everybody to like get together and do something easier, or that's just a harder path to go down? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. You know,
It would have to actually change the law itself. The boundary of the preservation area is in the body of the Highlands Act.
Sure it is, yeah.
And it's pretty cool. You can watch it run around property lines in like Washington Township down on Route 46. It does miracles. You know, if it was really a law about protecting water, you would say watershed management areas 3, 4, and 5 are preservation area, done. But no, they didn't do that. It was about something other than simply water preservation and the water generation. And it would take an act of the legislature, and I'm not sure those folks have an appetite for that at the moment, Mr. Pagano.
well, they made a lot of mistakes like that.
I've kind of made noises, but it doesn't come off, it doesn't get.
No, it's like, you know, but it seems to be like if it came to the table once before, let's say, and it was turned down, like I think Jefferson has the same problem, where they just mapped across, and it's like, you know, we can't do anything. I mean, to hold a borough like Ringwood or some other borough to say, you can't do nothing since 2004 is really, they really do a job on the municipality and the services you're trying to provide for and the economics you're fighting against at the same time. It's like unbelievable. And I don't know what's the best path to go. You've shown a lot of different ideas. I mean, fortunately, it seems like in some cases, you got septic systems or treatment plants, let's say, that need help. So those private developers or private commercial owners too, they say, well, let's not put the money into this thing. Like, let's say the Ringwood, the Commons, let's not put money into that if we can put the money in a sewer line for $3.4 million and never have to come back to doing this again. But, you know, sometimes the borough might look at that and say, well, that's a problem. Because if we go the other route and go with we put a sewer line down a 2 mile or let's say a $3.4 million sewer line, then they worry about development maybe. You know, and like my attorney said, this is the lowest density I've practically heard of, but you got to start somewhere maybe. I don't know, maybe, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Mr. Pagano, it is definitely a consideration. There is not a lot of multifamily housing in Ringwood. It is a brand-new product.
No livestock for that. Yeah, there's no living. Yeah.
It is something that I don't even know if I have the appetite for.
Right.
It's going to take a lot of thought and consideration and weighing all the possibilities, and we don't even know if it's possible. You know, we are really stuck here. We are in just this gray area. We have been for, you know, since 2004, and we're trying to fight our way out of it.
Is there a plan B to this? Because I know you want to work around the shopping center being like the hub of this whole thing, and when you come into that so-called gateway area, it talks about in your study, and the MP3 study, it talks about this being the gateway into Ringwood. If that don't work out with that shopping center owner, is everybody on a standstill? Am I on a standstill because maybe he doesn't want to do anything? Because I know you're incentivizing him to do something. Well, we know what our hopes have been.
We only have, as we see it, we only have limited capabilities to do a redevelopment.
Yeah, you do.
And it's property owners that qualify for redevelopment that need to get incentivized. And if there's a way that if there's a way that you can add to the redevelopment, it certainly would be useful for you to tell us what you think.
I will.
You know, the concept of 12 units to the acre, when you have only and most of those developments have a lot of open space with them at 12 units to the acre, whereas here you only have a discrete area that can be redeveloped, and the town, I think, justifiably does not want to lose its retail.
Oh,
And so that this plan, as we see it, is an attempt to balance it. If we were to go to 12 units to the acre on here, we would be 6 to 8 story buildings. Yes, we would.
well, I talked to my engineer.
And parking. I mean, sure, if we were to say tear down the shopping center and build 12 units to the acre, that would be fine, but we're not suggesting that because
No.
we want to keep our retail in place.
No, you
some
want-
of it, and some of it, the shopping center owners have some existing tendencies that they need to protect, but
Right.
we can only deal with the cards that have been dealt us, and
Well, that's what-
properties that are not subject to redevelopment can't be developed.
well, that's why I brought up, maybe they can do something with legislation, but
Well,
because it was brought up once before, I'm speaking out loud.
I understand, and I won't quarrel with you, but the idea of Ringwood waiting for legislation or a master plan amendment from the Highlands or a remapping really doesn't move the ball forward for what Ringwood needs.
Well, you don't know till you explore that, but that could be the case. I just know I was hoping you had a plan B because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, do a lot of people like to live above stores? Who knows? Who likes to hear the dumpsters going and the traffic being different? I wouldn't want to, and I wouldn't want my mother living there, but that's me.
Show us what you can do with your property.
And that's another thing
In a
about my
redevelopment.
property. I'm only allowed to develop on 3 acres out of 16, and that's the card I was dealt, all right? Which isn't such a fair card because the Highlands, to me, was set up to be smart growth, and I don't see the smart growth in that. But then I talked to my engineer, and he says technically the Highlands is enforcing it the way you guys, the way we understand it, which is they want to have development near existing development. But my engineer, who we all know, Jeff Hauser, says, it's written differently, but they're enforcing it differently. You can designate an area, from what I understand, and come up with the impervious surface. But, that's a whole different challenge because they're not enforcing it that way, but even though it's written that way, that you can do it differently. I've said enough.
I mean, we have room for disagreement on that, but that's.
All right, thank you.
We look forward to working with you.
All right.
Hi, good evening, Kathy O'Keefe, 148 Cupso Avenue. I'm glad to see the council is trying to address the downtown. We've had a vibrant downtown previously, and it is terrible to see all those vacant stores. Have we looked into just redeveloping the shopping center without adding housing? And incentivizing, I'd like to hear more about that too, the incentives that we're giving the landlords.
The incentive we're giving the landlords is the opportunity to build apartments.
Okay,
I don't know what other kind of incentives escape me at the moment that we can give them. We can offer them density. That's what we can offer. We can offer a change in the zoning. The current zoning has not attracted any bites. Nobody's interested in doing anything with those properties at the current zoning.
right. I don't see the economic committee is still in existence. And have we done a survey of citizens to see what type of business establishments they'd like to have here in town? Maybe if we knew what would draw the citizens to the shopping center, we can attract new businesses to our town.
Possibly.
Possibly, right.
Yes, the real estate developers have a very good handle on what, on who rents their facilities. And business owners also know their markets, much more so than folks filling in some kind of a poll. They'll tell you that they would really love to have a Whole Foods, but they will go shop at Pathmark. It's just the way it is. So we can get there at some point, but it doesn't.
We have the beginnings of that study, John. We
do?
had a real estate expert look
Uh-huh.
at what would be marketable
Right.
in Ringwood, and very pessimistic. I mean, everybody says, well, we should have offices. Well,
Offices
his
would be
review
nice.
was that there's not room for market. Shopping center alone is difficult in these markets, particularly where, the market area that the shopping centers look at does not seem to have enough people in it to be able to attract the major stores.
Yeah, the major stores. I remember it being vibrant. You do too, Linda, and I'm sure all of you do also. So it just, with this being a hope, not a reality, it seems a long time to wait with vacant stores with that video den sign up there for so long now, that we wouldn't be doing anything in the meantime.
Well, I'm
to
sure the
grow
landlord
business.
would love to have it done, but the concept is that by concentrating some people in the area, you're making it more attractive for shopping.
Yes.
And that's the concept that we're dealing with in terms of planning.
Okay, well, that isn't really why I came down to speak tonight. I just want to take a minute of your time. I recently had the pleasure of going to the New Jersey Sustainability Summit down at the College of New Jersey. And while I was there, I did come away with a wealth of information that can promote sustainability initiatives right here in Ringwood. It was alarming when I was there to learn that only 2% of lakes in New Jersey are still considered acceptable for recreational use. To me, living in a lake community, that was an alarming figure to hear. So I feel as a lake community, it is imperative that we do everything we can to protect our lake life and the future of Ringwood. Like other communities in New Jersey, there are many ways Ringwood can benefit from the training and the resources that Sustainable New Jersey offers us. These programs are available to our businesses, to our municipalities, to our schools, to the churches, and to our commercial and industrial facilities. It will help them save energy, money, and protect the environment, which is a benefit not only to the businesses, but to our community. So Ringwood does not miss out on all that New Jersey sustainability offers. We're really excited to announce that we are going to have a local and interactive sustainability summit right here in Ringwood, New Jersey. It will be held at the local library on September 16th from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. And Kelly, I believe you're a participating member
Yep.
of Sustainable New Jersey. That's what I thought. So we're really excited about working together with you to invite the stakeholders such as the Ringwood Board of Education, the REF, Ringwood Education Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, of course, all of our municipal leaders, our church leaders, our local principals, the Ringwood Environmental Commission, our Lake Association environmental committees, and we have 3 great speakers that are coming to demonstrate ways we can help our churches, our schools, and everybody save money, energy, and the environment. These programs will promote increased efficiency and use of clean, renewable resources, creating a stronger economy, less pollution, and to lower the cost is the kind of future and change that we want to see in Ringwood. So I hope to see you all there. And Kelly, I do have this flyer for you because I'm hoping that you can be instrumental in helping us get the word out.
All right, just one comment, though.
Sure.
Our lakes, Cupsore, Erskine, and Skyline are 3 of the best lakes in the area.
They absolutely are, and the
And
commissions are very good.
for the last 3, 4, 5 years, we have a tri-lake committee
Yes, I know that.
Gets together and goes over all the problems that happen in the lakes.
I
So-
think the way that they work together is great, and I am a member of the Cupso Lake community, and I did attend their last environmental meeting, and they did tell me about that great coalition that the three lakes have put together. I think working together, not just the lakes, but the entire community, can help the lakes solve some of the problems, such as Cupso. We suffer from some of the runoff from the school, from Ryerson School. There's a lot of unpermeable surfaces up there, which do impact our lake and therefore has an effect. Everything we do has an effect on our lakes, and I know that you're very involved in that. So this can help us find ways to help the lakes as well as the businesses. And we look forward to bringing it here.
Okay.
Thank you for your
So
time.
that's tomorrow?
No, it's going to be
September.
actually held September 16th at the local library from 1 p.m. to 3:30. Okay?
Yes, we do. We need portable housing and a farmland for the whole Passaic County and the whole state of New Jersey. We need open space for certain sections of Ringwood in Passaic County and for the historical landmarks of Passaic County and Ringwood.
Thanks, Mark.
Peter Sando, 24 High Point Lane. That was a very impressive presentation, thank you. Kind of aggressive. I'm sure it'll get a lot of scrutiny. Seems premature because it's very far-reaching. I'll have to study that. It's very interesting. Timing is everything, I guess. But what I would like to change the subject for a minute. I know there's been some talk about a PR firm hired to present the position of the Borough and Ford on the Superfund site, and I think the cost was stated as being like $25,000. And I'm unclear about how that money is flowing, who it's flowing from. I think there have been a couple of contradicting statements, so I'd like to, if you could clear it up tonight, that would be great.
Yes.
Oh, so you only talk to people, you're not going to talk to the public anymore if you don't like what they're talking about, or if you like to talk about something that you're talking about, then you will interact with us? What's your policy?
My policy is this topic has been beaten to death.
Well, it's for good reason.
Has been beaten to death.
For good reason.
And there's no chance of having any kind of resolution. You know, it's just it's an endless back and forth, and it's kind of pointless. I'd love to have a back and forth on something we can actually discuss, something like this here, something talking about, you know, where the borough is going.
Yeah, this is interesting, but I'm not asking for a back and forth. I just asked you a question.
But it always turns into a back and forth.
No, I'm
Mr.
not going to
Sandos.
say anything.
I will answer every one of your questions.
Okay, I'll
but
sit
just
down then.
Provide your questions, and then I'll answer.
Okay, you got my question. That's it. Thank you. I wasn't intending on having a debate with you or anything like that. I was just seeking information from our open and honest government.
Much appreciated, sir. Thank you.
I was hoping to find out what the calendar of events is going to be. Since Mr. Dunn said bring in proposals, but what is the next actual step? Is there a deadline? Is there a target date? When should we do something?
Well, I mean, I would like, first of all, we need to get some more or different engineering help because of the reaction of the Highlands. If the council would like us to proceed with outlining a redevelopment plan, we'll get the Highlands. We know what the Highlands requires for that. We'll start putting those materials together. We'll consult with you and Mr. Pagano to see whether you have some things that we could add, and then we'll go to the town. Then we'll go for a pre-application meeting. That's the first step in this. The sewer thing has a longer timeline because it needs more work. We'll be inviting you to come and give us your proposals, and
All right, I guess I didn't say it exactly correct. Since 2004, when I would stop work on my project, I had an approval for a 2,000 gallon per day septic system, and that was knocked out. So if I come in with any kind of a proposal that has a 2,000 gallon per day septic system, will they approve it now under this plan, or will I have to go into a sewage facility? And if so, then I have to do more than 10,000 square feet of commercial space, because it just can't work. So I would be right back where I started if I gave you a plan that was acceptable to the Highlands, because there is no plan like that.
Okay, well, come in and talk to us about it. We'll see what we could shape for you.
I mean, you told me to come in with a plan. I spent thousands of dollars giving you a plan.
I told you
I did it in a week.
I told you to come in with a plan that was realistic under the Highlands, and you're.
No, you said disregard the Highlands Act, because
I just read my memo today, Mr. Forbes.
well, we all knew that it was going to be not appropriate for the Highlands Act, so I had to come up with a maximum plan that would show the number of affordable units you could put on there. The Highlands Act didn't exist, and that's what I did.
I guess we didn't understand each other, because I told you to give us a realistic plan that could be a redevelopment under the Highlands.
That was the plan that I submitted originally, which was stopped. So, want to let me go with my original plan? I guess I'm ready to do it.
No one to move to close?
Second.
You have a second on
Yeah, I do.
that? Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison.
Yes.
Landis.
Yes.
Marsala.
Yep.
Noonan.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
The PR firm, that's MWW, who's going to be handling some communications for us in Upper Ringwood, regarding the Superfund site. They will be paid for out of the $4.5 million that were part of the term sheets. Those term sheets are part of the damage settlement that we came to with Ford Motor Company, the Borough and Ford Motor Company came to. We have that money in hand. We're going to use some portion of that money to pay this communications firm to straighten out the, or just provide a kind of a clearer window into what the facts are in the regarding the Upper Ringwood site. So that's where the money's coming from. It's not coming from taxpayer dollars. It is money that we received as part of our damage claim against Ford Motor Company for the damages they did to borough property over the course of the years.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't that did we approve that by resolution?
Yes.
So
Yes,
it's part
it
of
is.
the public record?
Yes.
So it was open
Yes.
and open to the public, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. Mr. Dunn, thank you very much for your forbearance in taking questions directly from the public. I appreciate that. I do.
That's no problem, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity not to stay for the rest of your meeting. I've been to many of those.
Sure. Our counselor here, Mr. Klimek, just informs me we have a resolution. We're going into resolutions right now, our next order of business. While Mr. Dunn is still here, we have a resolution we'd like to take a
we've put
consider.
together a resolution which would authorize the appropriate officials to proceed based upon what Mr. Dunn said this evening. Let me recite it, and then you can offer your questions or comments, and if satisfied, then you would pass it, because this would be the authority to start the ball rolling, okay? Be it resolved by the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood as follows. The manager, the borough attorney, and special counsel, Mr. Dunn, are authorized to seek a pre-application meeting with the Highlands Council for the purpose of exploring the designation of all portions of Block 801, Block 4.03, which is a Fieldstone Shopping Center, Block 800-01, Lot 2, which is a Ringwood Plaza Shopping Center, and the already developed portion of Block 800.01, Lot 3, which is a TD Bank building, for potential mixed retail and housing developments as a Highlands redevelopment area under the Highlands Act, the Highlands Regulations, the Highlands Redevelopment Procedures, and the Highlands Regional Master Plan. In addition to such pre-application meeting, we may ask to explore additions to such Highlands redevelopment areas to include portions of Block 801, Lot 4, Block 800, Lot 3.02, and undeveloped portions of Block 800-01, Lot 23, if proposed by the owners of such properties, but only to the extent that such proposals are permissible and approvable by the Highlands Council. The manager is authorized to seek proposals for water and sewer engineering services and to present a proposal to be hereafter approved by the council for the purposes of, 1, advising the borough and interacting with the Highlands Council and the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection on issues relating to a wastewater management plan and a water use and conservation management plan currently under consideration by the Highlands Council, and to seek grants from the council, the Highlands Council that is, for such work, and 2, preparing such further studies, plans, and applications as may be required to deem the feasibility of getting approvals from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the conveyance and/or treatment of effluent from mixed-use development of the proposed Highlands redevelopment areas, as well as the James Drive plant, the Robert Urson School, and the St. Catherine of Bologna Church and School. The planning board is authorized to consider master plan amendment and a potential addition to the zoning ordinance for a proposed mixed-use development of the Highlands redevelopment area when it is ultimately designated. And be it further resolved that the foregoing authorizations are made in connection with informal settlement negotiations of the matter of the in-rate declaratory judgment for the Borough of Ringwood, that is our affordable housing suit, presently pending in the Superior Court of New Jersey and Passaic County. The foregoing is not an admission of any liability in such case, and all statements, all actions hereafter taken by the borough are without prejudice to the rights of the borough.
Any motion?
Can I ask some questions for summary purposes? So you're talking about getting proposals for wastewater solutions, because you proposed 3 or 4 different options, and
Well, yeah, I mean, the reports that we have are general in nature, and the Highlands Act has told us that if we're interested in doing the sewer down Greenwood Lake Turnpike, we're going to have to show them substantially that we can't do it any other way. And there are certain things that need to be done from an engineering perspective to prove that if we can, or to see what we can do if we can't prove it.
so this is authorizing us to get proposals that we can bring back to this body for them to approve,
Yes,
for
for
conceptual planning of whatever the things you just talked about.
Right, and I can give you a scope of services.
That
for
would be helpful. And also, you're looking for meeting with the DEP in the Highlands to get some more clarity as to what they're looking for, and preparing whatever plans and scope necessary so that we can put a more informative presentation together that we can bring back to the planning board or this body so the public can get it.
Yeah. The Highlands Council has a procedure for a pre-application meeting.
Right, yes.
There are certain things that need to be prepared in advance of that meeting, including the delineation of the redevelopment area. But there are some other things that we need to provide them with, and so we need the professional support to be able to do that. We have existing contracts for most of that stuff, but basically the council is saying we would like you to hold a pre-application meeting with the Highlands on specific redevelopment proposals. It may not have to involve the densities or anything like that, but we need to get the Highlands Council to say that this is okay for redevelopment.
But in no way is this resolution moving anything forward other than getting studies to bring back here.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Right. And
That's what I wanted to clarify.
the master planning probably can't take place until we know what the Highlands and the DEP are going to do.
I'm sorry, Mr. Klimek, I wanted a little clarification.
My only question is, do those lots and blocks contain Mr. Forbes'
Yes.
property and Mr.
Yes, they do.
Pagano's property?
Yes, they do.
I couldn't say that simply.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Lawyers, we can only write complicated.
Why I asked the question.
Well, you got a lot of good subject matter to write complicated stuff about, because the whole topic is rather dense. Is that, Kelly, do we have a resolution number for that sweetheart right there?
Sure, 193.
193.
I'll just need a copy of it.
You can take it off the tape. Do we have a motion on resolution number
So
193?
Second.
Any discussion? I think we've heard, it sounds like it pretty much tracks with Mr. Dunn's presentation there. We're just looking to move this thing a little bit further down and see where the weaknesses lie. Any discussion? No further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
Yes.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now I can go back to Vermont.
Thank you.
Good, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, there being no old business, there being no new business, we move on to section 6 of our agenda entitled Resolutions. Mr. Heck, you generally
Yes.
take us through that, please.
Resolution 2017-172, whereas the Chief Financial Officer has certified the funds are available for the payment of the current bill list in the amount of $333,396.96. The supplemental payments in the amount of $6,464,556.14, and the merchant services fees in the amount of $264.59, to be credited to the following listed accounts for $6,798,217.69.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
Yep.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Staple came out, so bear with me.
Mine too.
What's that?
Mine too.
Mine too.
2017-173. This is a corrective action plan for the Borough of Ringwood based upon the auditor, and the corrective action plan for 2016 budget is the Borough fixed asset inventory has not been completely updated for 2016. So this is something that we're going to have a company come in and do that. And a fixed asset is for, like, every chair, every computer has to be labeled and inventoried, and so they would like us to update that. So we're going to have to hire somebody to do that. So updates are being done, but future updates need to be done moving forward, hiring a professional inventory. And these are the only comments that were in our
And
budget.
this is done every year.
No, you do it every couple of years. We do it in-house as we sell things, as we get rid of things, but they want you every couple of years to go through a full fixed asset inventory, and we're due for that. Honestly, I knew we were due last year. We just didn't get to it. So we're gonna get that taken care of.
So moved.
Second.
What are we going to leave for next year's corrective action plan?
Well, listen, I'm hoping to have none.
Really?
It would be nice to have no corrective action plans, and, I think over the last bunch of years,
We've whittled it down
we
the
whittled
list.
it down to, we've already started with our property inventories. We're working through that, so.
Very good. Could roll call, please?
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
Yes.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
2017-174, this is the governing body certification of the actual annual audit, which I think Kelly had distributed for signature before. That's what this document is.
Just need a motion.
Okay, do we have a motion on
So
this
moved.
governing body certification of the annual audit?
Second.
Mr. Marsala, Mr. Martucci, discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
Yep.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
2017-175, this is from the Finance Office, resolution deferring due date for the third quarter property taxes, whereas the overall tax rate for the Borough of Ringwood has not been certified as of yet due to the state, additional state funding amounts, and whereas the Borough of Ringwood tax collector will issue a final tax payment as soon as possible, and pursuant to state rule that the third installment of the taxes shall not be subject to interest until the 25th calendar day, after which the estimated tax bills have been mailed by the borough. Now therefore be it resolved, the municipal council of the Borough of Ringwood and Passaic County, State of New Jersey, on this 15th day of August, in accordance with with law, the third installment of the 2017 taxes shall not be subject to interest until the 25th calendar day after the date of the final bills were mailed by the borough. That's a resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I got.
You got a second in there?
I got it.
I'll second it.
Great.
I got it.
I want to see somebody second it first, actually. Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
Yes.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
2017-176, be it resolved, the municipal council of the Borough of Ringwood hereby authorizes the filing and the signature by the mayor for the 2017-2018 Governor Council on Alcoholism, Drug Abuse, Aware ASAP grant contract in the amount of $44,880 as administered by Passaic County.
I second it.
That motion.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison.
Yes.
Landis.
Yes.
Marsala.
Yeah.
Noonan.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
I request that we hold 217-177 until next meeting. This is a resolution for additional
Yeah.
surplus that we're going to
Keeping
try
a
and...
car, or are we getting rid of a car?
No, we have a couple more things we want to add to the list, and I'd rather do it once. It's easier to track.
You good?
People?
2017-178, whereas the contract was awarded to CFM Construction for Skyline Drive 72 water tank, contract number 2015-102S, and this is for temporary water service on May 17, 2016. And whereas H2M Associates prepared a copy of estimate number 6, final, in the amount of $42,300.58 for the work performed on the project. Now therefore be it resolved, the municipal council of the Borough of Ringwood hereby approves current estimate number 6, final, in the amount of $42,300.58 to CFM Construction of Sterling, New Jersey. Be it further resolved, this payment be made subject to the New Jersey Monthly Manning Reports, certified payroll records, and the maintenance bond as required by the contract.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Spear.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison.
Yes.
Landis.
Yes.
Marsala.
Yes.
Noonan.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
2017-179, we shopped our telephone and internet services. We're going to save approximately $1,500 a month with this service. We did this several years ago, and it was time to reshop and see if we can come up with another savings, which we did. Be it resolved that the municipal council, the Borough of Ringwood, hereby approves business services contract and invoice with Monmouth Telecom for telephone and internet services, subject to legal review.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Are they on like the state contract or something?
They're not on the state contract, they provided a bid.
Okay.
I don't think they're on state contract. They may be on another vendor, but...
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Spear.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison.
Yes.
Landis.
Yes.
Marsala.
Yep.
Noonan.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, and that is it for our resolutions this evening. Next on the agenda, consent agenda resolutions.
Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Ringwood has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, and whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Ringwood is not desirous of removing any resolutions for individual action from that agenda, now therefore be resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. 2017-180, approval of consent. 2017-181, approval of payroll and payroll transfers for July. 2017-182, approval of voided checks. 2017-183, authorized redemption tax sale certificate various. 2017-184, refund overpayment of property taxes for Block 931, Lot 7. 2017-184, refund over, 2017-185, refund overpayment first quarter property taxes partial, second quarter and third quarter, Block 816, Lot 4. 2017-186, professional service invoice for the tax map, electronic conversion and revisions, contract number 2016-103 in the amount of $2,000. 2017-187, professional service invoice, A&E services for interior design for council chambers for a public construction bid, contract 2017-101, $400. 2017-188, professional service invoice for the rehabilitation of the Skyline Drive 792 water tank project, contract number 2015-102, in the amount of $1,480.97. 2017-189, professional service invoice for the water system computer modeling, contract number 2016-105, in the amount of $4,700. 2017-190 is the approval of Passaic County's 2018 road resurfacing program. 2017-191 is the appointment to the Board of Health, and 2017-192 is the appointment to the Recreation Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody want to take any item out?
The water modeling.
What was that?
We've been working on the water modeling for quite a few years. We had a large proposal to have it done by an outside firm many years ago. We decided to do it with interns and our own in-house personnel. And what we, now that we've got all the coordinates and we've located all the valves and the pipes, we send it to H2M for them to do a model of the actual system so that we know as you turn what valves, as you affect different pressures in different system, how it works. They're creating an actual tabletop model in the computer of the system, and they're doing the computer work on that now.
I had thought we had done that.
We've been doing it over the last bunch of years as money allowed, but most of the work was done by, college engineering interns.
Roll call?
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
Yep.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the manager's report.
Mayor, I have a brief report for you this evening. You're upset about that?
I thought you said no report.
No, brief. I said brief. 2017 road paving program. The following streets or portion streets have been paved: Westbrook Road, Dale Road, Ellen Street, Wimbeam Lane, Cupso Avenue, Summit Point, High Point Lane, Club Road, and Westbrook Road at this point has been striped. Petzold Ave and Horseshoe Bend are tentatively scheduled in the next couple of weeks. We milled them. We did a lot of work to them. Ironically, we found some catch basins that were covered over. So we spent a lot of time there. DPW did a lot. So they're ready to go. The remaining streets will have some drainage improvements installed by the DPW, and these streets will be paved this year as well. Kingsley Road and Hope Place intersection design. The intersection has been improved at Hope Place, and the Kingsley Road are being performed today, actually. Once completed, Kingsley Road can be scheduled, and we're also going to do from 40 Kingsley Road to the intersection of Hope and Kingsley. There's a small section about 200 feet long through some water main breaks that we're going to patch in the middle of Kingsley. And while we're doing that, we're also going to do Patchy. Cupsaw Drive Phases 6 and 7, an award was made to DR Mullen Construction Company, New Jersey DOT approved contract. The drainage will be tentatively for mid-September, and the paving to follow as soon as the drainage is done. We also...
It always comes for the haunted hilly, Sean.
Yes.
Right for it.
Yeah, well, you notice the DOT projects, by the time we get approval from the DOT grant, and then we go out to the construction bid and we get the proposals, it's always fall projects. I would far prefer to do as much paving as we can in the summer when we don't have buses we have to worry about, because we have to get the buses through. Unfortunately, with DOT projects, you can't do that. So that's where that's at. We're also going to do, Kendall Drive has been a project that's been a long time coming. We did a lot of drainage improvements. That's just about done at this point, and that's
It's
also
looking
going to
good.
be paved shortly. So,
Catch
yeah.
basins and all with the curving.
Catch basins
It looked
put in,
really
you know,
good.
we addressed a lot of drainage problems while we were doing that. We've talked a lot about, through the budget process and through now, about the library paver project. And as you know, due to the conditions of the pavers and the deterioration, we have to replace that walkway. The demo is going to be done by the DPW. We're going to take the bricks out. We're going to preserve as many of them at the request of the library, and they're going to distribute them. And then we're going to prep all the work for the contractor who is going to come in and actually install the.
I think there was a flyer that if you wanted your brick to call the library, and you
Yeah.
can pick it up on the 24th or the 25th of August.
I don't have the flyer with me, but I think that next weekend they're going to be doing that. Not this weekend, coming the one after. We worked with the library on how they wanted to handle the walkway, because as you know, they did a fundraiser many years ago, and they decided to go with a virtual memorial instead of putting those kind of bricks back. The costs were, quite frankly, prohibitive to put the bricks back. And what happened is a lot of the bricks are splitting in half. There's a heat process that they put the names on. The bricks split in half, and it's caused some problems with the bricks. But having said all that, the library has been working with us, and so we hope to get this done next week. Hopefully we can get that done, and we can close it for 1 week, and then we're going to be done with that. So there's a lot of work that's going to be done. There's going to be some extra time put in by DPW, and then the contractors are going to work through the weekend to try and complete it. That's where that's at. We're hoping that it's going to be completed after the end of that week. Recreation, we had a great, they used to do those movie nights. They decided to do a summer splash. It was well attended. There were 160 people approximately that came out, and the kids enjoyed the games, and it was a good day. We have some adult signups for all the adult sports. Go to recreation. Ice hockey is also, it's time for them to sign up. Fall coaching class is going to be is going to be running open for Saturday for the Rutgers closing class. It's 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. You got to go to Community Pass and you get all the information. Reminder that Time Fireworks are September 9th. The Junior Police Academy was great. We saw the kids graduate this week, and it was the largest class I think we've ever had.
Was it
Kelly, right?
50? There were
No, I think it was over 80 kids that went through the academy, and they experience a lot in that week. They learn, first aid. They learn safety. They learn firearms handling. They learn first aid. The Ringwood, Wanacue, the first aid squad, the
Never-
fire departments.
Simulation.
Saw young children sit that long, so quietly.
And so still, they didn't move.
So that was great. It was great to see, and
It's a good program.
good program, and I congratulate the police department and all the people who put that on, because it's a lot of effort to get all those kids, through a class for a full week. And we're doing a new program with recreation with robotics. As you know, one of the things that got cut from the school was one of the robotics programs, and we met with the library, and the library thought that this is something that they wanted to pick up to try and supplement. I don't think it was fully cut from the school, but a couple of the programs were reduced, so they're going to kind of fill in that gap, and Rec is working with them to do that. So it's a great program. It's going to be at the library, it sounds like, to complete some of that stuff for the kids that were in, I think, 7th and 8th grades, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's all I have this evening, Mayor. Unless you have some questions for me.
Very good. No, I'm not going to push my luck this evening, Mr. Hack.
Okay, good.
Anyone have any questions for the manager? We will move right along to our attorney's report.
I have a question. I have a question.
Attorney's
Go ahead.
report.
All right.
Yeah, make sure he does that.
He's looking for his car keys.
With the paving,
Yes.
how was it paid for?
Pardon me?
How was it paid for?
This year, we're doing all the pavement without any new bond ordinances. We're using existing funds, capital improvement funds, and some old bond ordinances. So we didn't bond anything for this year's paving, and the price of paving is so low. That's why we can do so much paving. I mean, same thing with last year. The cost of asphalt has been significantly reduced. So.
I mean, I'll just ask you now, instead of doing it during council time. But I guess there was an issue with some nighttime noise over at the
Pardon me?
quarry.
Yes. Yeah, that's the second time in the last, I would say, 2 months where the quarry has.
Do we know what they're doing yet?
Yeah, and I tell the residents that if in fact they're working after hours, I sent them a rather strongly worded letter, but they need to call us when it's happening so that we can get a police report. And the last time we did that, and we found that they were working on equipment after hours making noise, we brought them into municipal court, and that was all part of our case. Mr. Klimek, it was all part of our quarry lawsuit, but we'll do the same thing again. They cannot. There's hours that they can work, and there's hours they can't work. And I asked the residents, and I met with several of them, and I talked to. I know you called me about it as well. If in fact you're hearing those kind of noise, I don't care what time of the day or night it is, call the police desk. They'll send an officer. Call me, and I'll also go if we have to. I did that the last time, and that's how we caught them making noise. And I encourage them to do that because you know what? There's rules and there's times and there's allowance when they can work and when they can't work. And
No, that's great. It's just.
but if they wait till the next day, there's not a lot we can do about it the next day. We need to know at the time it's happening.
So you can send
Yes.
someone.
So we can send somebody, we can document, and we can issue summonses.
Yeah, someone had put it on Facebook. I responded to her, gave her my personal info, so we were talking back and forth about it. And I told her, I said, just when it's happening, call immediately. I'm just glad that we're addressing it. So
Yeah, Councilwoman Landis called me pretty early in the morning, but at that point, it was already after their hours, which they were open.
Right.
It's early.
And the resident, I don't think, knew that they should call the police desk, but that
Yeah.
absolutely called the desk.
Quite honestly, the resident, I actually then spoke to the resident personally, and she didn't want to inconvenience the police department, so I also provided her with the non-emergency number and told her that would be a better
I just told her
route.
to call Scott directly. He'll come around. No matter what
I
time.
told her that I appreciated her kindness and not wanting to tie up the 911 line. So she now has the number and and it's been taken care of.
All right.
But if they're violating a municipal ordinance like that, that's exactly who you call, the police department. And
Yeah.
the police will call me, and they have not been afraid to call me all hours of the day and night, so, and we'll deal with it.
All right.
And it wasn't blasting, for the record, just
No, it was
because there were,
record- yeah, I
you know,
know.
a couple people that jumped on it, that it
No,
was
it was
blasting. It was, the woman has lived there for years, even prior to the quarry being there, and it was, she said it's equipment maintenance. You just hear the banging and clanging of
They shouldn't be doing
equipment
it
maintenance.
at 4 in the morning.
Correct. Yeah, it's
not-
unacceptable.
no matter what they're doing, they're not allowed
It's
to.
unacceptable, but just for the record, it wasn't blasting, because I know that came up too. It was equipment maintenance, but no noise is acceptable at that hour.
You mean Facebook isn't always accurate?
Go figure.
Wow.
Can't
Fake
believe
news?
it.
Attorney's report, did I hear?
No reports, sir.
That's what I
Oh,
like.
we
to
like
hear.
that.
Yes, you do.
Wow, let's retain this guy again.
Oh, yes, this, Kelly, what number would this be?
194.
Yeah, 194. Okay, this is a resolution reappointing a special environmental counsel with respect to Upper Ringwood and the Ford issues. That's Ms. Monahan, reappointing her for another year. I'll recite another one of my very clear stated resolutions. If you need a translation, that will be available. Okay, whereas the Borough of Ringwood has need for professional services of special environmental counsel, and whereas funds are available for this purpose, and whereas NJSA 48:1 et seek, the local public contracts law permits governing bodies to contract for certain professional services without competitive bidding. Now therefore be it resolved by the Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood as follows. Wanda Chin Monahan, an attorney at law of the state of New Jersey with offices at 50 Cardinal Drive, Suite 102, Westfield, New Jersey, is hereby appointed Special Environmental Counsel for a period of 1 year commencing August 16, 2017, with respect to services which are not compensable under the insurance policy of the Borough of Ringwood regarding matters pertaining to the Upper Ringwood area of the Borough of Ringwood, including but not limited to the relocation and location of a recycling center, and to represent the borough with respect to any other matter requiring expertise in environmental law. This contract is awarded without competitive bidding as a professional service contract pursuant to the local public contracts laws. This is a professional service within the meaning of the law. The appropriate municipal officials are hereby authorized to execute a professional services contract with the said attorney on behalf of the borough. The attorney shall comply with the requirements of NJSA 10:5-31 et seek, NJAC 17:27 et seek, provide a business entity disclosure certification pursuant to NJSA 19:44A-20.8, a political contribution disclosure form pursuant to NJSA 1944A-20-26, and an affidavit pursuant to Ringwood Ordinance Number 2007-05 as amended, and a notice in accordance with local public contracts law shall be published in the official newspaper of the municipality as required by law. So what you're essentially doing is you've retained Ms. Monahan over the years. She gets 1-year contracts as special environmental counsel. She's been doing this job now, I don't know how many years, Scott, 7, 8 years. It's just amazing. This basically, yes. So this, as I say, this is a restatement of her contract. It does not require public bidding because it's a contract for an attorney, and that's an exception in the local public contracts law. The reason is that certain persons, such as attorneys, it's hard to just bid. You just can't put out a bid for their service and say, who's the cheapest, I'll take that person. You know, you have to have trust and know what the qualifications of that person are. So, is the motion second?
So moved.
Kelly's going to want her document back.
Second.
Who's the second?
So moved.
Lynn.
Got a motion and a second?
Yeah.
You ready for a roll call, Kel?
Sure.
A comment.
Yes.
Wanda, let me tell you, she's worth every single penny. I've reviewed those documents, the past to Scott, and saw what she was walking into and what she was left with, and the results that she has gotten for the borough. She's worth every penny that we've paid her and will pay her. She does an excellent job. So,
Agreed. Roll call.
Mayor Spear?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Landis?
Yes.
Marsala?
yes.
Noonan?
Yes.
Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor. And there's no items for executive session, I hear from neither of you.
No executive session.
Excellent. Going on to mayor and members of the council. Councilman Schaefer.
The ambulance auxiliary is holding a fundraiser this Thursday at Subway, so if anyone desires to go there and support Subway, the ambulance auxiliary will get a percentage of whatever is sold on that day.
When is it?
This
Thursday?
Thursday. Also, congratulations to Ann Cybecker, who received an award, and it escapes me.
You're here. The Jefferson Award.
Thank you.
Jefferson, yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was. The Jefferson Award. Congratulations to her, and she's very active with the Environmental Commission and also with Weiss Ecology. And it's nice to see that we have a number of people in Ringwood who do a lot of volunteering in our town. Thank you.
Councilman Noonan.
No report.
Sir. Councilman.
Said what I had to say.
Councilman Davis.
No
Your
report.
Honor. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman.
Just piggybacking off Linda, congratulations to Ann. She's wonderful, and
Yes,
she's a
she
hard
is.
worker, and she's a tireless volunteer, and it's nice when those people are recognized.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
How are we doing with, how are we doing with coaches?
How are we doing with coaches?
Yeah, do we still need
You always, listen, you always need coaches. That's why we have so many Rutgers courses. It takes a lot of volunteers to run our programs. And, so I'm confident that if there's anybody there that wants to coach up for any of the fall sports, if you call the rec office, they'd certainly gladly take some more.
And we pay for their certification?
Well, between the Borough of Ringwood and/or the Rec Commission, we have an in-house trainer now for Rutgers. We pay for the Rutgers fee, yes, and we pay for the background checks, and we do all that. A lot of the other communities, you have to go for those classes, whether it's to Sparta or wherever they might be, and you have to pay for it, and you have to pay for your own background checks. But one of the things that we funded over the last couple of years is between our budget and the Rec Commission, we've decided that coaches are an important thing, and we shouldn't be putting them out of their way to coach, so we do it all here. So to answer your question, I think I answered your question. We pay for that.
Okay. There being no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
You got it?
Second.
Sir, roll call on adjournment.
Mayor Spear.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Martucci.
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison.
Yes.
Landis.
Yes.
Marsala.
Yep.
Noonan.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Does anybody have any idea what they're doing on Ringwood Avenue during rush hour?
Yeah, they're putting friction paint down.